And here we are. Welcome, everybody, to this Google Hangout. My name is Gene Marks. I'm president of the Marks Group. We are a 10-person company outside of Philadelphia that sells and implements CRM systems to about 600 of our clients all around the country. And today we are talking about CRM with an Insightly user. This is David Ions, correct, David? I'm pronouncing your name correctly?
David Ions, yes.
Okay, that's good. And so, David, what I wanted to do is, first of all, ask you to sort of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company. And then I've got a bunch of questions for you about how you're using Insightly CRM in your business.
Sure. My name's David Ions. I'm a software engineer here at Science Exchange. Science Exchange is an online marketplace for scientific research. So researchers who don't have the time or the equipment or the expertise to perform a given experiment come onto our platform and find laboratories that can do that experiment for them.
Got it. Where are you guys located, David?
We're in Palo Alto, California.
Fair enough. How many people in the company about?
There's about 20 people.
Got it. Okay. So you guys are using Insightly as your CRM application?
We are, yes.
How long have you guys been using it?
We've been using Insightly for around 8 months now.
8 months, okay. And about how many people are on the system?
Everybody.
Everybody. So all 30, 35 people in the company are currently on it?
All 20, yes.
All 20, okay, that's fine. So did you have a long period where you were looking for CRMs, or was Insightly, was it a short research period?
We found that we looked around. We had a CRM prior to Insightly that wasn't really performing well for us. So we shopped around and we found Insightly to be the best fit for our business.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's hundreds of CRM applications out there. My company sells 5 of them. We don't even sell Insightly. And yet I'm a big fan of Insightly. We only have 10 people, so we can only do too much. However, I often run into implementations where people are using and happy with Insightly as well as other CRMs. Was there something specific about Insightly that kind of drew you to the product? I mean, they used to have a thing where they were like more Google centric. Was that one of the things that drew you to the product, or was it something else?
That was absolutely one of the things. Insightly integrates well with Google Apps, and we use a lot of other Google applications in our team. So obviously the Gmail integration was very attractive to us. We also really like that it's a small business focused CRM that's quite a tight product. So we don't have that many requirements for a monolithic enterprise CRM solution. So we liked the streamlined nature of Insightly.
Fair enough. Do you guys have anything else? I mean, you're obviously using it inside of Gmail. Do you have anything else integrated with the product, or are you using it pretty much standalone?
We have quite heavy integration with Science Exchange website itself via the Insightly API. So all of our data in the Science Exchange website is synchronized in some form to Insightly.
What kind of data are you talking about? So if I'm a new customer and I register and sign up for services, that's being held on your website. Is that the kind of stuff that's being synchronized in, or is it for prospects?
We do both. So all of our users are synchronized as contacts in Insightly. All of our orders are synchronized as opportunities, and all of the laboratories who provide services on our platforms are synchronized as organizations in Insightly. So we, in addition to synchronizing our data on our website, we also bring in data as in the form of, opportunities, etc., from outside of the main site.
People talk to me all the time about integrating their CRMs with other systems and also about their website as well. So when you bought Insightly, clearly there was no out-of-the-box integration with your website. You guys had to use their API, correct? So did you do that yourselves? Did you use a partner to do this? Somebody from Insightly? Who did that work?
We actually, obviously Insightly provides the API. So that's step one. They have an external interface that allows you to synchronize data with their platform. From there, we use Ruby on Rails as our website technology here at Science Exchange, and we actually created the open source, what we call GEM, which is an external library of code, in order to communicate with their API in a more concise way. So Science Exchange heavily participated in that integration process. Obviously, it wasn't out of the box, like you say. We did a lot of coding to make that happen.
Just so I understand, and I apologize. So Rubio, are they partners? Are they an outside firm that did this?
So Ruby is a programming language. So
okay, right.
We actually constructed a library that made it easier to use the programming language Ruby to communicate with their API.
Got it. So you did all of the work internally, though. I mean, you used your own internal developers to do this integration. Is that correct?
That's correct.
How long did it take you guys to do that? First of all, I'm betting it's not even done. Is it? Would you consider it to be a work in process, or do you think it's pretty well complete?
I think there's always room for improvement. It's certainly performing to our needs, but it's ongoing development.
Right. How long did it take you guys to create that integration? How many hours?
Hours.
Yeah. It's important.
It took around a month of eng work, so we're talking like more 100+ hours.
Right. So this 100+ hours of a developer doing this. And the other question I have is, did the same developers also design and develop your website as well? Or were they at the very least very intimately familiar with your website before even getting started on the integration?
Absolutely. I was the one who built it alongside a couple of my other engineering colleagues. So we are intimately familiar with the website, and we also wrote the code that communicates with Insightly API.
Got it. Has there been much support that you needed internally? Like, in other words, has it broken many times, or does it pretty much run pretty good?
That's a good question. I have a pretty good relationship with the tech team in Insightly. I wouldn't say that their API is without flaws. However, no APIs are, I think, you'll find. So we worked through a couple of issues during the integration process, but overall we came up with something that did the job.
You mentioned that you've got a pretty good relationship with the people at Insightly. I'm assuming that that's probably a pretty normal thing to happen if you're developing an integration using their API. You're going to get to know those guys pretty well. Is that a fair statement to make?
I think it is a fair statement to make. I think unless you're just bringing in outside contractors to do everything for you, you're probably going to end up talking to the tech team who's providing the API.
Fair enough. What mistakes did you guys make? If you were starting this from scratch now with 2020 hindsight, what would you do differently?
That's a good question. I think we should have cleaned up our data better when we migrated from our previous CRM. So you're only as strong as the data that you have, and we didn't take the time to really clean up all of the duplicates and other annoying stuff that came across as part of our migration, and that was a mistake.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's good. Is the migrate? And I want to spend our time on this because integration is something that gets asked by so many prospective CRM users, and I don't know. I just want to give people a real idea of the reality of doing something like this. You don't just snap your fingers and it happens. There's a lot of pain and suffering that goes through the process. I mean, you just said that, it took you about a month to do, 30 days and about 100 hours of work, give or take. of some experienced developers internally that were doing this. So you had resource to do it, but it's not like it just happened overnight, you know. So if you didn't have that integration right now with your website, would the system be, you know, sort of irrelevant for you? In other words, is this integration like a critical part of using the CRM system in your business?
It is 100% critical. If we didn't have the integration, we would not be using Insightly. It's that simple.
Right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Is the do your customers are entering data on your website, so you're capturing data that way, and that's what's coming into Insightly, correct?
Correct.
Do you then trigger workflows or any automation from within Insightly when customer data is created or updated anywhere?
We do trigger a set of tasks that get generated. Insightly has what are called pipelines. So as an order progresses through its standard workflow, it's progressing through steps in this pipeline. And as these steps in the pipeline change, we trigger tasks within Insightly that tell our customer success team to perform given actions.
That's great. That's great. Is there any, what other things are sort of on your to-do list, if there is a to-do list, for other integration stuff or any other uses of Insightly that you don't think you're using it for right now?
I think probably it has some nice integrations with accounting systems and also with large-scale mail campaign software such as MailChimp. We don't really use those a lot. We could probably extend that to be useful to us, I think.
It's good. All right, that's fair enough. Some other questions I have for you, and I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but this is really helpful. You know, in your business, so you've got 20 users of this system. So that's a nice, group of people. Is there one person in the company that sort of owns Insightly? Is there like a go-to person for Insightly that if there's any questions or things that need to be done or problems or whatever, that's the person? Is that you?
It was me, and we've now hired a head of what we call customer success. So I would say that role has transitioned to our head of customer success. Obviously, any specifics about nitty-gritty technical stuff is probably still going to come to me.
All right, that's good. So you've got sort of the technical person, and then you've got, I guess, the head of customer success, the person that's wants to get the most usage out of the system, right? It's like a power user. Does that make sense? And this head of customer success, what is that person's sort of qualifications to take over that role when you were considering this person? What were you looking for?
Well, I think the head of customer success role encompasses a lot more than just a CRM. Their role is to ensure that anybody who's using our platform is getting what they want and having a good experience. Business tools are crucial to achieving that, and we did look at the systems that they'd worked for in the past before hiring them and what integrations they'd set up, how they established workflows, what products they'd used, those kind of things. So it did factor into our hiring decisions. However, it's not, what CRM you've used is not the be-all and end-all for that role by any means. Okay,
yeah, that's fine. You had mentioned earlier about the data from your old CRM system being not very good when you brought it into Insightly. So what lessons did you learn there that you're applying to Insightly to make sure the data is a little bit better?
I think you just have to be on top of it. If you it's kind of like the broken windows policy in New York, right? As soon as you start to get a few broken windows or a few sloppy pieces of data, it tends to slide into a worse state. So you just have to make sure that it's a cultural thing that people are keeping this data clean, because if the data's not clean, the system rapidly becomes less valuable.
That's great. That's great advice. And you're right. I remember Malcolm Gladwell writing about that. It was the windows, the subways, and like the squeegee guys when you came out of the tunnels in New York. They would like squeegee your windshields. And Giuliani and Mayor, before that, the administration before we got rid of those guys, just the small little things which made a big difference, to making sure. And I guess that applies to your data as well. Is there within Insightly itself, going forward, are you guys using it right now for any reporting? Are you getting any data out of the system right now?
I would describe the reporting in Insightly as a weakness of their product. It's pretty simple. We do use some of their reports. However, we also have our own business tools for generating reports, which we tend to use more heavily.
Right. Do you generate the reports out of Insightly's database?
No, we tend to generate them out of our own data warehouse.
Got it. Are you exporting data from Insightly into the data warehouse, or does that not include any Insightly data?
We are exporting data into the data warehouse.
It's a common theme that I hear for many CRM vendors, and this has been going on for years, is that the reporting capabilities are always difficult. It's like you have to be like an expert at that one report writer for the CRM application, or you have to be so intimately familiar with the database structure that you have to be pretty much a DBA, you know what I mean, to really be able to report out of the system. And I haven't found any CRM vendor that's like come up with like sort of a silver bullet to solve that problem. It's a very, very common theme, so exporting data to a data warehouse, then doing your reporting out of there is how you guys have gotten around that, and that makes a lot of sense. One other question I have, and then we'll wrap things up. This is really good. Back to the integration side, you'd mentioned, okay, so we're getting data in from your website. You've got customers in there filling out forms, updating orders, that kind of information is coming into Insightly. How often is Insightly being updated? Is it a batch thing? Is this happening once a day? Is it happening immediately? How often do you have your Insightly database, getting updated from your website?
Sure, it's a combination of most of the things you just mentioned. Primarily, it happens straight away. When an action happens on our website, it triggers what we call a delayed job that then communicates with Insightly and inserts that particular record or updates that particular record. However, we also have certain jobs that run daily to generate tasks in Insightly to do certain things. So it's a combination of both.
Okay, fair enough. So as a final question, this will make you think. If a typical person who's going to get Insightly, or frankly any CRM system, David, and they want to integrate it with something else, their accounting system, their website, whatever internal, custom database that they have, as you've got development background, obviously, and you're a technical person, you've gone through this exercise with Insightly, integrating it with your website. So I'm a business owner. I got 20 users that are going to use this, and I want to integrate this with something else. What advice do you have for me? Give me like 2 or 3 pieces of advice that, and I'm a layman, okay? I don't have you on staff. What advice do you have for me if I want to be successful integrating Insightly or any other CRM with something else?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the advice I would give you is to start simple and iterate. Don't try and build a very complex integration solution straight away, because it will end in pain for you. Like, determine what is most important, start off very simple and build that. Once you have it working, expand it.
That's great. Wonderful. Well, David, I really appreciate you taking the time. For people that are looking to integrate Insightly or any other CRM system, I think this information is really, really valuable. One more time, if you'd like to just give a quick plug for your company and what you do.
Sure. Well, Science Exchange is basically Uber for scientific experiments.
That's great. And your website?
ScienceExchange.com.
Fantastic. That sounds interesting. David Irons, thank you very much for being and speaking with me today. I hope whoever is viewing this finds the conversation helpful. I certainly did. And thanks, and have a good rest of the day.
Thanks, Gene.
Take care.
Bye-bye.